and welcome back. Chapter 5. One of the things that Virgil liked best about the farm was the way it smelled. They had no animals other than the dog and a chicken that had apparently escaped from a neighboring henhouse, so they didn't have a barnyard stench. They did have fresh cut hay, one of the best odors in the world, and a hot summer flowers, which smelled as good as the hay. In Virgil's opinion, August and September on the rural back roads of Minnesota made one of the prettiest landscapes imaginable. The roadside weeds and grasses and flowers going gold with the approaching autumn. Not so much in the city, though. He walked out to his truck through the smell of asphalt and motor exhaust, and what always struck him as spoiled, juicy fruit gum and rotting bananas. That changed as he crossed the river again, giving him a shot of dead carp and river weeds. He followed his GPS downstream to Quill's red brick mansion on the bluff above the Mississippi. Quill had lived in one of the best spots in the cities, he thought, green with overhanging trees and quiet, pleasant street with the river right there. But it wasn't the farm. Quill's house was 2 stories high, plus an attic under a complicated roof and a basement. A detached 3-car garage had a storage room above the parking pad. Both house and garage were built of deep red brick, pierced by white framed windows. Train had told Virgil to park by the garage. Both this access door and the house could be unlocked with the same high security digital key, and inside each door was an alarm keypad, security code 388-783-873. When Train gave him the code, Virgil said he'd never seen a 9-digit one. He wondered if the repetition of 3, 8, and 7 had some meaning. But Train said one of Quill's wives told her that Quill used a random number generator to create his codes. Besides, how could the numbers have anything to do with our problem? Maybe he had a security situation, Virgil said. Weak. Virgil parked, looked through the garage window, saw 2 cars inside, used the key, and punched the alarm deactivation code into the pad. As he did, a clutch of sparrows flew overhead, their wings whirling in the stolid interior air. They disappeared through a hatch to the loft above. The closest of the cars was an unlocked black Mercedes-Benz SUV, and on the other side of it was a silver BMW Z8. The third parking space was empty. The second BMW had been towed away to a police impound lot as possible evidence. Virgil got vinyl gloves from his truck, went through both cars, and found nothing at all. It appeared that both had been cleaned out, probably by a crime scene crew. He climbed the ladder that led to the loft, stuck his head through the hatch, and saw a jumble of old furniture and worn carpet spotted with sparrow droppings. He couldn't imagine that any of it could have any bearing on an attack at the university library, so he went back out and locked the garage. The house was surrounded by a wrought iron fence lined with annual flowers, which also edged the cracked concrete sidewalk between the garage and the back door of the house. Instead of going in the door, he walked around the house, looking it over. At the front door, he peered through his window, saw nothing in particular, turned the key, and stepped inside. The door opened into a generous reception area, the dark oak floor mostly covered with a red and blue oriental carpet. A circular staircase wound around and up to a balcony overhead, looking down at the door. A century hallway separated the living room from a library/music room. The living room was arranged for entertaining, with 3 couches around a center carpet, a sideboard for drinks and food, and a mahogany grandfather clock stood in a corner. Its hand stopped at 4:44 because its winder had been murdered. The library had a wall of books interspersed with a variety of keepsakes, including a collection of chipped Hummels that appeared to be very old, and a shelf of ancient stereo equipment, including a turntable, with speakers on shelves at opposite ends of the bookcase. A walnut case stained well, baby grand sat in one corner, a stack of sheet music on it. He looked at the music for a moment, half classical in the full piano forms. Somebody was a good pianist, and half romantic stuff from the swing era pre-World War II, Cole Porter, George Gershwin, like that. Irving Berlin's Blue Skies was open on the music stand. Farther back down the hall was a formal dining room with a rectangular walnut table and 10 matching bentwood chairs, and on the other side of the hall, a breakfast room with a table and 2 chairs and a door leading to the kitchen. A powder room was built in near the kitchen. The house was silent as a coffin. Virgil took the stairs, found Quill's bedroom plus a home office with more books, 3 more bedrooms, and a door leading up to the attic. The bathroom was expansive and modern. A rich guy for sure. Everything was notably tidy except the home office, which had the look of a working space with papers and books and journals and pens and transparent highlighters spread around all the flat surfaces. Everything else in the house had the feel of professional maintenance, a maid at least, and possibly a gardener. Virgil worked his way slowly through the entire house with the exception of the cellar and the attic, which he checked briefly, then dismissed. Again, he couldn't imagine how either might factor in a murder that had taken place a mile away. He was looking for words in letters, texts, or printouts, or personal possessions that weren't Quill's. Something that would suggest or reveal an inimical relationship. Inimical, I think it's it. The bed was neatly made, king size, and covered with a huge old Shofty quilt. He carefully peeled it back until the bottom sheet was exposed, then went over the quilt looking for more dark pubic hair and found one. He saved the office for last. The centerpiece was an ancient old desk, fully 8 feet long and 4 feet across. The old wood polished to a high sheen, with ranks of drawers on both sides of the knee hole. The desk had been carefully updated with a keyboard where they once been a center drawer with a rank of electric sockets installed along the back edge of the desktop. There was an empty spot there where a computer had been, its Canon printer still sitting to one side, its computer hookup cable curled next to it. Train had taken the computer to research emails. A bookshelf was stacked with academic journals, several medical books, and more academic. Okay. Detritus. All of it printed, none of it annotated. Nothing that would help with a murder. There was another stereo with 2 bookshelf speakers. Virgil noticed an LED light on a CD player, opened it, and found an unmarked disc sitting in the tray. He took it out, no markings, whatever. He put it back, pressed the play button. A minute later, an unfamiliar singer pushed the uncomplicated lyrics of Home on the Range through his nose through the speaker. He turned the CD player off with an involuntary shudder. He sort of lived on the range, but that didn't mean the song didn't suck. The bookshelves also contain a collection of antique wooden boxes, and inside them he found important but routine papers, a checkbook, check stubs from his university paycheck, investment reports from U.S. Bank and Wells Fargo, tax records, insurance policies, titles to automobiles, a stack of last year's Christmas cards. He spent a half hour going through the papers and journals on the desk and on 2 sides filing cabinets, looking for anything handwritten, anything out of place. He found nothing that looked important. Virgil was lying under the desk in the knee hole when Train asked unexpectedly, "What are you doing?" Virgil, startled, jerked half upright and banged his head against the bottom of the keyboard drawer. He dropped back on his elbows and saw Train's shoes and cuffs of her pants. Ouch! Jesus Christ! Give me a little warning, will you? Sorry. What are you doing? She stooped and peered under the desk. My grandpa had a desk like this, smaller, but old like this one, with 1,000,000 drawers, Virgil said. He was digging around in a narrow space behind the drawers. Pull the top left drawer out, would you? She pulled the drawer out, and Virgil asked, Anything interesting? Not that we haven't looked at. Can you pull the drawer all the way out so it comes loose? Virgil asked. She tried. No, it's not made to come out. I can feel it hit some stops. Virgil said, And get anything good out of the library? Everybody agrees it's a pubic hair. Actually, 3 pubic hairs. You missed some. I was at the autopsy, and I can tell you they're not quills. He was a real blonde. 3 pubic hairs. Unless the owner was shedding, they might have used it more than once. Virgil crawled out of the knee hole and stood up. What are you looking for? Train asked. The case housing the drawer is about 8 or 10 inches deeper than the drawer itself. No good reason for it, but it's entirely enclosed, he said. Maybe if we push the desk away from the wall, we can look in from the back? No, if there's a space there, you want to be able to access it without taking the room apart. My grandpa's. Virgil pushed down on the left edge of the top. Nothing. He pulled up. Nothing. Looked under the edge, couldn't see anything except a scratch. There's a scratch, he said, going down to his knees. So what? Well, it'll be a hard place to scratch, Virgil said. There's a hole here by the scratch. That'll be it. For a secret door? You gotta be joking, Train said. Everybody knew about my grandpa's hidey hole, including me, Virgil said. Wasn't a secret. A lot of these old desks had them. They were in safes. You might put confidential stuff in there, maybe tax stuff and so on, but not money. Like I said, the drawers weren't all that secret at the time. He stood up again, opened the top right drawer. A plastic tray held pencils, ballpoint pens, paper clips, fingernail clippers, scissors, and a single right-hand Allen wrench. He took it out, carried it around to the side of the desk, fitted it in the hole, and pushed. A side panel clicked loose and out, then folded down. Inside was a vertical stack of small drawers, almost like trays. Agatha fucking Christie. Sorry, y'all. Train said, amazed. Open the drawers. Virgil did. They were all empty. He crawled around to the other side of the desk, found an identical hole, popped the side panel, revealing another stack of drawers. He pulled open the top drawer and they both peered inside. Train said, Oh, no, nope. Shut the drawer. I don't want to see that. Could be laundry detergent, Virgil said. You know, like Tide. I could snort a little to see if it is. How much you think? I never worked dope. Sorry. Hold on. I'm back. Okay. I never worked dope, Virgil said. But I've seen cocaine, and that's cocaine. Not much, but we don't know what he started with. Our murdered boy got cocaine stashed in a secret cubbyhole. That's the cherry on the cake, you know? That's just fucking perfect. I hope the television people find out about it so they can go berserk. It could be Tide. They called the narcs and continued to probe the office. Although Train had already done that, she took each of the antique boxes down, looking for false buttons and secret drawers. They didn't have any. A narcotic cop named Bill Offer showed up, said that the baggie had contained a standard 8-ball, an eighth of an ounce of cocaine. Good stuff. Not been stepped on much. Originally, he probably paid a couple $100 for it, depending on his connection. Then he could have gotten it from anybody outside the back door of a bar, Train said. Yeah, like that. Might want to talk to his wife about it, Officer said. I will, Train said, tonight. I was planning to call her, Virgil said. Mind if I tag along? Suit yourself, Train said. Not exactly a heartwarming welcome from Train, but maybe a little progress, Virgil thought. Offers had a scale in his car. They weighed the coke with the baggie, and Virgil and Train signed it over to narcotics for safekeeping. You said you were at the Graduate Hotel? Train asked Virgil as they finished the paperwork. Yeah, all checked in. Nancy Quill doesn't live far from there. She's over by the Witch Hat, Train said. You could follow me over. The Witch Hat referred to the Prospect Park neighborhood that had an old water tower perched on the second highest piece of land in Minneapolis. Visible for miles, the tower was topped with what looked like a green witch's hat. Quill didn't live in Prospect Park itself, but in an adjacent neighborhood in a neat yellow brick condo. Train called ahead and Quill buzzed them through the door to the elevators. On the way up, Train asked, Do you know anybody in the media here in the cities? Couple of people, Virgil said. Why? It would be nice if word leaked out that we're actually making progress without it coming from me or anyone in homicide. I don't want to get anyone in trouble, Train said. Davenport is tight with a lot of TV people. He even has a daughter with one of them at Channel 3. She's an executive now, used to be a reporter. I can ask him to leak it. He'd do it. And if somebody smart tried to backtrack it, it'll come to me. And I don't care if it does. If you can make the call, it might take some of the heat off, Train said. Soon as we leave here, Virgil said. Nancy Quill was a tall, severe-looking blonde who spoke in short, precise sentences that were delivered in paragraphs. I never saw Barth use any drug, not even aspirin. He didn't care for wine, although he took a glass from time to time. That was his effort to be social. He didn't use hard alcohol, with one exception. He did spend some money on tequila. He sipped a glass of it at night before bed by himself. Cocaine seems unlikely. But if he were to have a drug of choice and I were asked to guess what it was, I would guess cocaine or one of the amphetamines. He would look for a drug that would intensify focus, not blur it. You never saw any hint that he used cocaine? Train asked. Never. He made it clear, though, that I wasn't welcome in his office, Quill said. It looks messy in there, but actually everything had its place and everything was put in its place. I had my own office and a spare bedroom. I moved my effects here when I left him. I have no idea what the signs of cocaine abuse might be, other than having seen some actor inhale some white powder in some movie. Virgil asked, did he have any friends or associates that you saw who seemed to strike a false note? Somebody who might have supplied him with the cocaine or might have been a connection to that world? Barth didn't have close male friends, people he would confide in. He married 3 times, of course, so it seemed that he should like women, although I'm not sure he did. He needed us for sexual release, to be frank about it. I'm not sure he wanted us around for anything else. A misogynist, then? Train asked. I said it right this time. Oh, I wouldn't use that word, Quill said. A misogynist is someone who thinks of women as inferior. He didn't. He quite respected a number of women in his own field for their work. He regularly corresponded with them. You have his home and office computer. I believe if you closely examine his emails, you'll find their names. Train said to Virgil, we've done that. There were females, academics among the people he wrote to, but I didn't see anything there that struck me as personal rather than professional. Virgil to Quill. To get back to my original question, what about false notes? I've been thinking about that. Actually, there is someone, a lawyer, John Combs. Everybody calls him Jack. He and Barth had a regular weekly handball game over at the Rex. Well, their relationship was not exactly a friendship. They never socialized other than on the court and once a year at the Combsy Christmas party. Jack always struck me as a bit sleazy, a criminal law attorney, and not wildly successful. He does come from a prominent family. Perhaps their relationship went back to childhood, to school, I don't know. I do know that he's an excellent handball player. That was all they got from Quill. If her husband had been using cocaine, she never saw any signs of euphoria or with euphoria or withdrawal. Bart was incredibly even-tempered. With his job, I'm sure he must have felt stress, disappointment, anger, but he never showed it. As they were leaving, Virgil asked Quill, "Did your husband like cowboy music?" "What?" "You know, cowboy music." I doubt that he ever listened to a cowboy song in his entire life. He liked Bartok. Jimmy Ray Bartok? No, Bella. Oh, you were joking. She looked disappointed in him. In the elevators on the way back down, Train said, "Jack Combs might be something. I know who he is, but he's a small timer in the legal world. Never handled a homicide as far as I know, or if he did, not a big one. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he got a lot of work through court appointments for drug defendants. That would be about his speed." "You want to do him, or do you want me to?" She thought for a moment, then said, "Why don't you take him? He sounds like a jock, and you're obviously a jock. Maybe you'll bind. I want to ride herd on our pubic hair. It could be critical." "You going to do DNA on all three of them?" Virgil asked. "Think we should?" "Yeah, they're probably all from the same person, but it would be very interesting if they weren't. If you got a guy who takes a personal interest in women only because he wants the sex, as Nancy Quill says he did, and if he has a logical mind like most scientists, then why not a hooker? Or two or three? Be a lot cheaper than 2-year marriages followed by divorces. As you would know as well as anybody," Train said. "Right. Thanks for mentioning it. Another thing, Hotel have eyes for hookers, and that might be a reason he'd take one to the library. And where you find hookers, you're going to find drugs, and you might even find blackmail. You might find all kinds of things like motive." "Good point," Train said. "We'll do the DNA on all the hair." "I'll find this Combs guy tomorrow," Virgil said. He looked down at his shoes for a moment, ruminating. "What? Home on the Range?" He has Home on the Range on his stereo. It sort of convinced me that the guy was deranged. That's almost a pun. "I didn't mean it like it that way," Virgil said. Outside, Train looked at her watch. "I'm going home. You'll find Combs tomorrow morning?" "Yeah, I'd like to solve this by tomorrow night. So I wouldn't have to spend Sunday worrying about it." "I'm all for that," Train said. She offered him a tiny smile, the first he'd seen from her. "But it won't happen. I have to say, though, that you did good stuff today, Virgil. I didn't have anything to work on. Now I do. I'll call you after I talk to Combs." And talk to Davenport about leaking to the TV people. On his way back to the hotel, Virgil called Davenport, who agreed to leak a progress report, and Davenport also knew Combs. Combs is smart enough but lazy. He is a jock. Golf, tennis, basketball. Handball doesn't surprise me. I've played some basketball with him and he can shoot, But he comes from one of those old rich mill families, and I don't think he ever needed to work, Davenport said. Loafed his way through law school, managed to pass the bar exam, worked for the public defender for a couple of years, does some pro bono now, and yeah, I think he could probably hook you up with a dealer. At the hotel, Virgil got a steak, then wandered over to the beer joint for a brew. The place was busy, but he grabbed the last stool at the bar next to an older, white-haired, red-faced man in a blue linen sport coat and white shirt. He smelled like a cheeseburger, but not offensively so. The Latina-looking barmaid came along, and Virgil asked if they had Bud Light. She winced and said, no. Then give me whatever is most like Bud Light, Virgil said. The white-haired man laughed and said, the boy's determined to drink cow piss, Alice. I wouldn't stand in his way. He could be armed and dangerous. He turned and looked at Virgil, checked the shirt, and said, you're in a band? No, but I like band shirts. So do I, but they look stupid on you when you're as old and fat as I am. You got the hair and stomach for it. Well, thank you. The barmaid came back with a glass of beer, pushed it across the bar to Virgil, and said, best we can do. She was a pretty woman, round-faced, brown-skinned, dark eyes with a flashing smile. Virgil took a sip and said, okay, PBR, Miller Lite? Got it in two, she said, Miller. Well, you got what you wanted. What was most like that other shit, the white-haired man said. And my name's Harry. I'm Virgil. Let me guess. He gave Virgil a look with Alice, the barmaid, getting interested, her arms on the bar looking back and forth between them. And then Harry said, you're repping for somebody, something technical, a computer company maybe. He stopped, examined Virgil even more closely, and then said, no, bless my soul, you're a cop, some kind of cop. Virgil laughed, shook his head. Alice asked, is he right? Are you a cop? Yeah, I guess, Virgil said. No, actually, I'm sure I am. Who you copping for? Harry asked. Minnesota BCA, Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. That's pretty amazing, Alice said to Harry, and again to Harry. Another one? Might as well, Harry said, pushing his empty glass across the bar to her. To Virgil. You working on the case? Yeah, I'm taking a look at the professor who got killed over at the university. Hey, I read about that, Harry said. You getting anywhere? We're early in the game, Virgil said. Bullshit. I read about it 2 weeks ago. If you don't have the killer by now, you're in big trouble. Nah, we're breaking it down, Virgil said. You don't mind talking about it? Oh, no, I guess not. Virgil didn't mind talking. His attitude was, the killer knew everything about the case, and the cops knew some of it. Not talking about it didn't keep information from anyone but the tax-paying citizens. He gave Harry a 1-minute summary, and Harry took it all in. Alice, the barmaid, came back with Harry's beer and said, on the house because of the cop guess. And Harry said Virgil's investigating a murder. What murder? She asked. Professor over at the university, Harry said. She shook a finger at Virgil. I heard about that. The one at the library. You catch the killer? We're working on it, Virgil said. Let me tell you something, Harry said. I own 3 McDonald's, but I don't know the first thing about murder investigation except what I've seen on NCIS. You know that show? Sure. Gibbs and those guys. I've gotten a few tips there, Virgil lied. Mark Harmon, hell of a football player. You're not nearly old enough to appreciate this, but Harmon was a quarterback at UCLA, and they kicked Nebraska ass back sometime in the 70s. Huge deal. Nebraska was the defending national champs at the time. Didn't know that, Virgil said. Harry leaned closer, breathing beer breath on Virgil. That's because you're not old enough. I'm 70, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I wish it was yesterday. I remember when Joe Namath and the Jets upset the Colts. I know about that, though I wasn't born yet, Virgil said. My dad was a jock. He told me about it maybe 200 times. You a jock? Harry asked. I guess. Baseball mostly. Here at the U, couldn't see the college fastball that well. Played golf myself at Michigan, Harry said. I once shot a 66 against a Badger over in Madison. Best I ever did. They talked about sports for a few more minutes and Virgil had a second beer and then Harry said, let me tell you something about your case. Go ahead. A young person did it, Harry said. I don't know if it was a male or female, but it was a young person. And why is that? Harry held up a heavy index finger. I started running my first McDonald's when I was 27 years old. I've got 3 now. Most of my life is hiring young people to work in them, though we've got a few senior citizens. I've hired hundreds of young people and fired quite a few of too. Here's the thing about young people now. A lot of them are no goddamn good, mean little fucking Wolverines. I don't want to say that's bigoted, Virgil said. Not bigoted, Harry said. I know bigoted. I was playing in the NCAA regional when I was in college, and we had this black kid on the team. The country club, this was down in Kansas City, got all out of joint because they didn't know there was a black man in the field. Didn't allow black guys on the course unless they had a rake in their hand. Seen a lot of that shit over the years. Half my McDonald's kids are black and they tell me about it. But young people, they seem to me like anybody else, sort of all over the place, Virgil said. Harry nodded. Some of them are. Maybe most of them, I don't know. But I get 3 types at my McDonald's. I got kids who want to make money for a whole lot of reasons, and they're serious about it. They want to buy a car or go to college or whatever. They hang in there and they're determined, and they'll work hard until they get what they want. Or a better job. Good kids. Hate to see them go, but they always do. Then I got the kids who don't have any choice. Maybe they've got to work to eat. Maybe they're bright enough to work at McDonald's, but don't have a lot more going for themselves. I like those kids because I've had some of them stay with me for 20 years. But the third type, they're no goddamn good. How's that different than it's always been? Virgil asked. It is, believe me. There have always been kids who were no damn good, but now it's everywhere. Everywhere. It's kids who know they're not going to be millionaires or billionaires or movie stars or famous singers or in the NBA, and it's all they want. They can't see past that. It's like they're not alive if they're not on TV. They don't want to be doctors or dentists or lawyers or businessmen. They want to be rich and famous right now. They don't want to work. All they want is to be a celebrity. Then at some point, they realize it ain't gonna happen. They're not talented enough or smart enough, and they sure as shit don't want to work at getting to be famous. When they figure that out, that it ain't gonna happen, they turn mean. Mean, Virgil said. That's right, mean. Harry said, you get kids who'll kill you for no reason to feel important. What's more important than killing somebody? You say you'll go to prison. They don't care. They don't even care if they die. They'll tell you that. Go ahead, kill me. I got no life. You believe that? Harry drank half his beer down. Virgil, I once got all pissed off at one of these school shootings, one of these massacres. I told one of my girls, one of my employees, that when they convict the guy, they ought to haul his ass out of the courthouse, make him kneel down on the steps, and then shoot him in the back of the head. You know what she said? That you're nuts? Harry laughed. No. What she said was, if you did that, the guy would be on TV. He'd be happy. He'd be famous. He was on TV, being on fucking TV, being on the internet. She's right. I know some of those kids. Virgil finished his beer, said, "On that cheerful note, I'm going to bed." "I'm here most every night," Harry said. "Let me know how you're doing." And Virgil, it's a young person. Okay. Virgil spent the rest of the evening watching a ball game from the West Coast and went to bed at 10 o'clock like a farmer. At 10 minutes after 10, his cell phone rang. It was Train. "You awake?" she asked. "Yeah, barely. We need to go back to the Quills' house," Train said. "I thought of a reason he might have been listening to Home on the Range. I'll meet you there at 8. "Well, tell me," Virgil said. She did, and Virgil said, "I believe that, Margaret. I mean, maybe you're wrong, but I believe it right now." 8 o'clock, she said. Virgil turned off the lights again, dropped his head back on the pillow. Was she right, or was it a silly fantasy? Why hadn't he thought of it when it was standing right there? And then he worried a little about Harry. And that's the end of chapter 5. I'm torn. I said I was going to read up to 5 chapters and see. They still giving useless information. And I said if they was going to continue doing useless information, I was going to cut it. But I think the information is important. It's just the conversations that's in between that's driving me bonkers. Like, ugh. But anyway, this is chapter 5. What do y'all think? Should I keep going? Give it another few chapters, maybe till chapter 10? Because it is, I think it was 24 chapters or 27 chapters. Let me know in the comment section below. Okay, so there was 2 words that I didn't know how to pronounce or don't know the definition of. So stay tuned for the definition video. Okay, I'm back for the definition portion. Okay, the first word is spelled I-N-I-M-I-C-A-L, and this is how it is pronounced.
Inimical.
Inimical. I don't think I said that, but it's an adjective tending to obstruct or harm. Okay, and the next word is spelled D-E-T-R-I-T-U-S. And this is how it is pronounced.
Detritus.
Detritus. I don't think I said that at all. It's a noun, and it's waste or debris of any kind. Okay, so that's the end of the definition portion. I asked a question in the previous clip, so let me know what you think, and I shall see you in the next chapter. Bye for now.